All right, hi, welcome to another video on the Learning Lab. Um, my name is the teacher tuber, Abhishek. I also go by Abhishek, and I'm a teacher turned YouTuber with a mission to create and curate YouTube's best videos on people, ideas, and culture. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about a poster of one of my favorite films. The name of the film is Swades. It was released in 2004 by Ashutosh Gowarikar, who previously released the movie Lagan that got a lot of recognition and acclaim. I think this is one of my favorite Shah Rukh Khan films. I saw this film when I was 11 years old, growing up in the Middle East in Bahrain, and it really touched something really deep within me because I was living as a non resident Indian in another country, and I often thought about my connection to my home country, which is India, which we would periodically visit over the summers. Now, this story is basically the story of Mohan Bhargav, who stays in the US and works at NASA as a scientist. And he lost his parents to a car crash very early on in his life, and he was looked after by a nanny whose name was Kaveri Amma. And then he moved abroad for his studies, but Kaveri Amma continued to stay in India. Um, so eventually, Mohan Bhargav loses touch with Kaveri Amma. And one day, while he's working, he decides that he needs to bring Kaveri Amma and let her stay with him in the US. So he decides to visit India after one of his projects at NASA. He finds out that his nanny used to stay in this old age home, but now she's moved to this village called Charanpur. At Charanpur, Mohan Bhargav basically meets his nanny, which is Kaveri Amma, but he also meets Geeta and Nandan, who stay and take care of Kaveri Amma. Geeta runs a school in the village. At the village, he is exposed to life in the village, which is very different from his high tech life in NASA in the US. He also sees a lot of social problems in the village, and it really evokes something in him in terms of how he can contribute to this village, which is something that I think a lot of NRIs feel they have to do because of this sense of belonging and longing in another country. So Mohan Bhargav visits different sites, different villages, and then he notices that at this village, there is a need for electricity, as electricity is cut off in the evenings very often. And he decides to create an hydroelectric project with the people of his village. And he also does like a movie screening. And in his small ways, he wants to give back to his community. Um, Eventually, he has to move back, but he misses his village a lot. And then he decides to move back to India by the end of the film. But I think this poster really, if you look at how this is like a single shot of the main character in a boat, and he stands out in this boat because his attire is very different from the people sitting around him. Um, like if you can look at his eyes, he is sort of looking up, everyone else is looking down. Everyone else seems to be tired and not lost in thought, but he seems to be lost in thought. um, it's this beautiful landscape with water and the hills, sort of meditative. It seems like they're going from one point to another, but there's definitely like a struggle within him about this sense of belonging, that you can see on his face very visibly. And that's why I think this is a very powerful image, especially because there's a large like non-resident Indian community around the world, and I think it's the same of different countries around the world in terms of how people develop a relationship with their new country, their home country. And you don't always have to move back to your home country, but there are various ways to understand how your identity shifts when you live in another country. So yeah, I think this is a really powerful image, and it really depicts Mohan Bhargav's story um, in a lot of ways. Um, yeah, and I think another special part about Ashutosh Gowarkar's films is that he often shoots on location and sites around the country. I think this particular film was shot in a village in Maharashtra called Minavali. It was also nominated for a couple of Oscars and was reviewed quite well by critics. I love the music, especially the song "You Hi Chala Chala." I think there's some really nice music that represents the theme of this film. Yeah, and that's my review of Swadesh.